If you just explain to us, so what what would your average day be in terms of gaming? Because you were obviously professional esports.
Uh, I'd say we were playing around 8 hours per day, to be honest. Including that is already like playing individually. So I would start the day with warming up, and then we would connect with the team, and then we would play around 7 hours of Counter Strike every day, excluding the weekends or sometimes. Yeah, I'd say 5 days a week.
And when did you start to realise that maybe that excessive gaming and the exposure to the sound was starting to affect your hearing?
Um, The first memory that comes up is when we were on a boot camp, which is when you go to one place and there you play for to prepare for a tournament. I remember I was getting to bed after a full day of gaming, and I heard this really loud ringing noise, uh, and that bothered me. So I had a hard night sleeping because it was so much in the foreground, and it never really left since. It got a bit quieter, but it never really left.
Now, what effect does you can have tinnitus, but it has other effects as well, doesn't it? So tinnitus, how it can affect you and your personality. So, what did you find so that with developing tinnitus?
For sure, it had impacts on my mental health. I mean, if you start researching into something that's happening to you and it starts to look like it's never gonna go away, of course, it's gonna have some impacts. It got me worried, and it was uh, it was pretty heavy on my emotional well-being, I would say. And also, I would say it led me to be a bit more paranoid about my future sound exposure. From that point when it happened, and I kind of realized what sound exposure really means, I've started to be way more. Started to pay more attention to uh, both gaming and both sound exposure outside of gaming. Being when I go across the street and I hear a jackhammer, I kind of go around, or if I go to the movie theater, I have earplugs in, and on events I do the same. And
Now, you've done quite a remarkable thing because you've retired from esports, but what you did is that you developed a software that will actually help other people. Can you explain what that is?
so that happened a short while after I realized I have tinnitus. That led me to do a little bit of research of how that could have happened, and that led me to the conclusion that there were probably ways of how I could have lowered my sound exposure over time. Uh, I had the idea, and the basically I worked with the thought that most of the time when you're playing Counter Strike, you're not alive because you can only have so many duels, even if you're the best player in the world, and you're not going to win all of them. So you're going to probably play like two duels and you're going to die. So you're going to witness most of the action from the spectator role. So I played with that idea, and that basically led me to create software that lowers the volume when you're dead, and uh, and that had really good reception. And I think it significantly reduces sound exposure over time.
And so, what would your message be to gamers, to young people between 10 and going up to 25, 30? What would your advice be to them, so in terms of the times and how to be safer with their listening when they're gaming?
I think the most important thing is to realize how really vulnerable we are and how mentally devastating it could be to eternally hear high pitched sound non-stop. You just hear it when you wake up, you hear it when you go to sleep. There's always something. When you want to experience silence, there isn't such a thing as silence anymore. And that's, I think, if people would try to empathize with that notion of imagining your life without silence, I think that could lead people to be more careful. For me, a very important thing was also realizing that hearing damage can happen not as a result of one specific instance of a very loud sound, but exposure over time of loud but not too loud sound. Your ears don't need to hurt for the sound to be loud enough to hurt you over time.